Xin Chao 2025 Da Nang. Respect to the guys that were here 50, 60 years ago from 1965 to 1975.
The beach, there's an actual photo. 1965 March landing of the Americans.
Now before a captured American flag. And there's the beach where the Americans first landed in 1965. Many fought and died, went through Da Nang, captured in the north. Like this poor downed pilot. Countless bombing raids that left from Da Nang Air Base, the major U.S. air base, from the fall of the French 1954 to the start of 1965, major operations of Americans in the war through the late 60s into the early 70s. Just 100 kilometers south of the DMZ line between the north and the south. But times change. 2025. I came here as an American. Lots of friendly interactions, all kinds of people that not many remember the war, but everyone knows someone that was affected by it. Just shows me that times can change. Time can help heal the pain and the wounds. And you can't change history. And I felt I had to tell this story here. A lot of my friends' dads, and 2.4 million Americans came through here. Brutal war, controversial war. This sign actually means American Beach. This is where the soldiers got to relax between going back into the field. And it's where the Marines nearby first landed in 1965. And now an up-and-coming place. I tell the story. It's not my story, but I had to say something. Guy, when we were walking by like a month ago, he was saying, "Oh, I'm opening up a coffee shop at this hotel." San Jose, California. Actually, it's that way geographically. That's right. 12,092 kilometers. The first time ever anywhere in the world, and I've traveled a lot, been all over the world. I've seen a ton of these kinds of signs. Never, ever have I seen my hometown, home city, the 10th largest city in America. A lot of people don't know that because no one's ever heard of it. San Jose, California. I always have to tell people I'm from San Francisco. Da Nang, not Da Nang, man. Everyone, you always hear about that. Da Nang, Da Nang. It was this big old situation, and Nang, kind of like that. Nang, not Da Nang. All right. I doubt 99% of the people sitting around here know this, but this place was nicknamed China Beach by the Americans that would hang out here to get a little R&R, rest and relaxation, before going back into the hills and back inland to fight some battles. So this was their spot to chill. It was near the U.S. Air Base, which is now Da Nang Airport. This was a major area. They had surf clubs and water sports and all kinds of things going on here. I've seen pictures. You can see this hill in the background. Of course, I'm going to do much more of that, but it's just crazy to think. It's like 50, 60 years ago, especially in the late 60s, like 68, 69, 1970. Around that time, this was nicknamed China Beach by the American and Australian soldiers. Actually, they would get a little R&R out here, have some beers, smoke some cigarettes, have some barbecue. It's crazy to think about. A lot of those guys never made it home, man. Wow, we're hanging out on this beach. Alright, we're headed out to Red Beach, Namo. The other side of the river, doing some 1965 history over here. Look at Da Nang now. There's the Dragon Bridge. And we got a real cool car freshener right there. Xin Chao! Alright. 60 years ago, right here, March 8th, 1965. U.S. Marines, from what I researched, first landed landed in Da Nang at Red Beach, right here. 3,500 U.S. Marines pulled up on their amphibious landing boats, and tanks were rolling off here. They thought they were going to meet some resistance, but actually it just ended up being women and children with flowers welcoming them. This was the official start of the American involvement in Vietnam, right here, 60 years ago. So, located northwest of the city, right around here. And also, some landed down there. We're going to go down there in a second to protect Da Nang Air Base, which is now Da Nang International Airport. So that was the whole reason they were coming down here. The official start of the Vietnam War, American involvement on this kind of creepy, abandoned beach now, with half-built resort ideas. And I don't know what's going on here. Fishing boats. Nobody's out here. It's a little bit of a cloudy day. It's mysterious. And it's perfect because, in some ways, because up in those hills and beyond into the inland over there and over here is where the North Vietnamese, Viet Cong and Hanoi aligned soldiers were that caused the Americans all kinds of problems. All right. I just want to say before I get started on more of this, you know, I'm making this video, I am American, and maybe it's for some guys that were once here that could watch this. This is Red Beach, where the amphibious landings happen. And a lot of guys, a lot of Americans came through here, you know, maybe they're a little older age, can't travel. This is mainly for you. I've been researching online and seeing testimonials of people that were here. A lot recorded like in the 90s, you know, and 80s and stuff, but some comments and YouTube, and you know, it's a real emotional and scarring memory for a lot of people. So I don't, you know, me personally, I don't have any family that was in the military or that served in Vietnam. I wasn't in the military. Coming at this from a civilian standpoint. You know, I've been in some places like the Korean War Museum in Seoul, where there was a girl whose dad was in Korea that was there. Where, you know, this isn't a situation like that. I have a friend, my best friend's dad was here. What's up? Shout out to the Bogdanovich family. He was here. They visited not that long ago. Oh man, now it's raining a little bit, Vietnam fashion. So just something I wrote down, you know, I don't want to say this like I'm an expert or have some emotional attachment to this place. It would be great for someone like that to come here and do this kind of video. I am American and I'm here. It's history, so I had to say something. I won't go into a debate for support or against the war or anything like that. You know, the political controversy of the era and Cold War rhetoric and all this crazy stuff that people probably think that's a dog bone on this beach. All right, Red Beach. So let me talk about this way instead of selfie. So I believe all Americans, especially over the age of 30, have their own personal view on the war here. Over the age of 40 and 50, 60 years old, 70 years old and beyond for sure. Oh, there's a plane going off from the airport over there. The Da Nang Air Base. The whole reason this place became such a hot spot during this time. So I'm just going on site. You know, this is the original landing area. This whole beach stretching all the way over there. I'm just going on site, saying of what was going on here 50, 60 years ago. A lot of people were hurt, killed, lives altered forever, both Vietnamese, American, and more from all sides. You know, there was South Koreans here and Australians, people that supported South Vietnam, people that supported North Vietnam. Last thing about that. Yeah, right here. Pulling up from Navy ships on the little amphibious landing boats, going inland with all their equipment. I believe it happened over there too, so, you know, I did the research. I'm gonna go to both. Last thing, as it's raining a little bit, this year, 2025, is the 250th anniversary of the American military from 1775, the Revolutionary War against the British, the Continental Army. And also, it's the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, 1945, which, talk about a world-changing craziness event America had a huge part in. I was in Nagasaki earlier this year, a couple months ago, so it's also that, the end of World War II in Europe and Asia. And it's another anniversary, 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War, as they call it here, the American War. Some kind of bone there, I think it's a dog's skull, bottom of its skull perished out here. This is a pretty littered, crappy beach, actually. There's no one out here. All right, let's tell more of this story. So this spot, only 100 miles that way, 160 kilometers, 12,000 kilometers or 8,000 miles that way is the United States. It's a long distance to come and do a police action, but what the deal was, 100 miles that way, or around that bend over there, 160 kilometers, was the DMZ, the 17th parallel, separating North and South Vietnam. So this area, though, was once a French legionnaire town, colonial town. I think these buildings are kind of like a remake. What they're planning to do is like build like a French little village for tourists here. So really hundreds, you know, the history we're mainly focusing on though, hundreds of thousands of Americans came through and stayed in Da Nang. And countless pieces of hardware like tanks, artillery, jet fighters, helicopters, bombers, and supplies. We're gonna see some of those later, I think, that were left here. Like the Phantom jets flying out from Da Nang Air Base over there on bombing, rocketing, and air-to-air combat missions going into the north, up to Hanoi, down there. It's pretty crazy to think about. So let's go over now towards the air base, to the other spot of the original landings, and that Da Nang Air Base has a ton of crazy history. Let's go. Thing while I'm here, 1965, early on, they thought they were doing the right thing, man. These guys, they weren't draftees, they were trained Marines, they knew they were soldiers, they knew they had a job to do, and they were coming in here. It was a Cold War, you know, you had Korea 10 years earlier, or so, 10, 15 years earlier. You had the Soviet Union, China with Mao Zedong and everything, and American interest in Germany, you know, East Berlin, West Berlin, East Germany, all that crazy stuff, the Iron Curtain, Cuba, all kinds of stuff was going on, man. You know, different things happened in Central America and Africa, Cold War. Get into the mindset of people, you know. I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but they thought they were doing the right thing pulling up here. They were helping the people with, little did they know that, like the French before them, it was going to be a hard slog and a pretty crazy situation from all the things I've heard about it my whole life, plus documentaries I've been watching recently. Crazy. I can't imagine. They're so young though too. Like 30 years younger than me right now. 30, yeah, about 20, 25 years younger than me right now. The guys coming here, give or take, not 30. But they're at 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, you know, those kinds of ages coming up in here. Like, couldn't imagine at that age having to do what those guys had to do, go through. Ugh. You know, I had to jump in there and swim real quick. I'll spare you me to swim in there. There's a lot of board junk in here with nails in it, so I was a little bit careful, but ooh, now it's raining. Right when I talk about all this crazy stuff. Damn it. Guy out there, local guy doing the butterfly stroke all of a sudden. Yeah, he's going for it. He's got good form. Whoop. Where is he? There he is. I just stopped. All right, we're leaving this beach. Got a little rainy, of course, when I come out to do this. As we're going to the next spot, stopped raining. We got this. America represent, American truck, maybe, I don't know. Hey, South Vietnamese supported the US, man. A lot of South Vietnamese soldiers also fought too around here on the side of the US. Ford truck, that's why it has that. All right, anyways, we're going to this other area where this landing occurred. It's the massive Da Nang Bay, actually. It's a little bit more lively up here. This is the other red beach out there somewhere, so let's keep it going. There's the Hero country sign. They're fighting for it here, Ho Chi Minh. All right, where are we going? We're going towards Red Beach. It's a place up here. Over here, Red Beach. Remember the sickle with the Vietnam star flag flying high, you see all the time. Kind of whatever now, right? But 50, 60 years ago, that was where the symbol of the Reds. I wore a red shirt today. All right, said I wasn't gonna get into that, but look at these beautiful shots, man. What parts of Da Nang look like. The area with the Dragon Bridge and a bunch of people where we watched fireworks the other day. It's down the way a little bit from here. It's actually like over there, but we're gonna get some food and tell more of the landing story right here. Drinking about 3 beers over there. Hello. It's about 1:30 p.m. Hey, I ain't hating on that, but he looked about 75, 80. He looked like he was most likely here and back for a little visit. A good old Highlands coffee. Let's stop in there real quick. It's a nice change. He had the look, man. He had the look.
He looked like my dad, like he'd been out in the sun.
He had the look. Like he was here, that's what I meant. Ho Chi Minh Vĩ Đại. Still representing all that symbolism here at Thanh Khê. So this was Red Beach 1, Red Beach 2. Someone was waving and saying hi. A little bit more busy over here. All right, so this was, I believe, another landing zone. Let's tell more of the story. Other side of Da Nang Bay, more close to the Da Nang Air Base, which, yeah, I can see how they landed maybe in both spots at the same time. Probably over there to secure that side of the bay, and over here to secure the air base. They got the hills obscured and rain clouds right now over there. Yeah, so this was the other spot, I believe. Da Nang International Airport. Flights every 10 minutes. Direct flights to Moscow, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Seoul, South Korea, Busan, Korea, a bunch of places. Bangkok, we came from. So Da Nang Air Base opened as a French civilian airport in the 1930s, then used by the Japanese in World War II. Then the French legions again, as they tried to retake Vietnam. in 1957, way back. So this is 8 years before 1965 when the guys landed around here on the beach. 1957, established as a U.S. Air Force base. Right over here, right around these buildings right here. I guess to support the French and their interest in Asia. Okinawa guys would come from a U.S. air base, you know, secured in World War II. Not good distance, but not far out that way, past Taiwan and everything. So yeah, activity began ramping up in 1959 after the French situation we're going to talk about later, Dien Bien Phu, where they lost their battle to Ho Chi Minh and his forces. But yeah, it's ironic because during the Japanese times, the U.S. actually trained and supported them as like a insurgency against the Japanese during World War II. The Ho Chi Minh was involved in that. That's really where they first got their battle experience, the North Vietnamese soldiers. So they were hardened, fighting Japanese, fighting French. They were here waiting for these Americans. They call them cherries, the guys with no war experience. Pulling up here. Some guys had some experience from Korea, I guess they said, but a lot of guys had none. They'd never been shot at. But yeah, long before it was a big hot war, 1959, the U.S. sent support and, you know, weapons and aid and advisors to the villages and to Saigon, supporting the Saigon government, because after the French left, it was split in two, Vietnam. The North, Soviet Union influence, communist influence. Right when I'm talking about this, it's raining again. And the South, the Western world, and the U.S. influence. Okay. Here was another amphibious landing. As another plane goes up. American planes were flying in there since the 50s. But troops on the ground first happened in 1965. So let's do a little backstory. What was going on here? So we're in the Cold War. And in the US, you know, they're cycling through presidents and elections. John F. Kennedy, JFK, John F. Kennedy Jr. was the one who was originally had the plan of, we have to support Vietnam, and you know, we're not sending direct troops, but we're sending advisors and equipment for the South Vietnamese to defend themselves, because it was Cold War, man. That's what was going on. So JFK, though, was assassinated in 1963, Dallas, Texas. He's the one who started those support programs, and LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, became president, and he ran on an election promise, which ended up being a lie, that we're not going to send American boys to Vietnam to fight another war in Asia, the third, after fighting the Japanese, after fighting the North Koreans, then fighting the North Vietnamese. In consecutive decades, man. So Americans already didn't want this kind of thing. He ran and he won the election on that promise. But something happened called the Gulf of Tonkin, not far from here, out there somewhere, out of Da Nang Bay. Some alleged attacks on American boats that went past the DMZ line, some naval ships. But nobody has ever confirmed that those were true things. You know, that's a whole nother conspiracy theory and everything I'm not even gonna get into. But after that, they're like, all right, we must go in. And the South Vietnamese, you know, even though they were trained, they were villagers, they're getting trained by Americans and had American equipment, but they were still losing in heavy numbers, man. Lots of death and everything throughout the early 60s. There we go, there's another, wow, that's a huge jumbo jet. Da Nang Air Base, the whole reason. Rainy day out here. God. The Gulf of Tonkin, and Lyndon Johnson, he sent in troops right here to protect Da Nang Air Base. The initial landing of the 9th Marine Regiment, the first U.S. combat troops deployed to South Vietnam, took place at Red Beach on March 8, 1965. Right here. Da Nang Air Base, still the airport, still functioning. Simultaneously, the 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines. Okay, so that first spot over there, they landed. Simultaneously, they land here. 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines landed at Da Nang Air Base. The Marines soon set up camp at Hill 55. Oh, I heard about this infamous hill where they had a base, little base that was under constant attack and threat. It's raining. All right, gotta take a break. Man, it's like something's telling me not to talk about these old emotions and things. We just had a break in the rain after the first filming site, and then I just was like, all right, here's the next site, the Da Nang Air Base, and it just started downpouring again. It's crazy. Man, it's like the old ghosts of Da Nang are not liking me telling this story right now, something like that. Very weird. It's been nice all week around this time of day, except for today. The opportunity though, Vietnam of the 21st century, 2025, it's got a lot of youth, kids, like that kid over there on the motorbike. They don't even think about this stuff. They have moved on, man. They're an up and coming economy and global trade partner, and they got their own thing going on, tourism. They rather focus on the future than the past. It's true. They're not obsessed or even really think about. There's a few memorials and museums and the symbolism, you know, but it's something that they of this beach and this air base around the corner there is going to have to go on pause. The heavens opened up. We had to stop and get some food anyways, and tell the rest of that later. But yeah, the guys that came on the beach, soon they went on patrols into the villages and to the hills and set up a base on Hill 55 there. And that's where, sadly, very sadly, the first of many casualties, the first KIA killed in action. In the first few months, March, April, May, June, July, 1965 started happening. Tell the rest of the story later. Let's see it. What are you eating there?
I did my fucking deworming. I'm good to go.
Some raw spicy shrimp.
At a 4.2 also restaurant.
Super spicy?
It's wasabi flour.
Alright. A little modern Vietnamese.
It's good. It's spicy, but it's good. Oh, fuck.
Well, the rain cleared up on Red Beach. Real calm waters. Karaoke going on in the background. You can see the hills. Da Nang Air Force Base. They were protected. Air base. It's a nice beach, actually. Well, I think it was just meant to be for me to film this now. It's looking beautiful out here, dusk. Karaoke going on in the background. So the landing here was smooth, no problems. Started patrolling in the villages and hills, and Then there was another landing south of here. Ooh, that karaoke. South of here. And that one was a little more dicey. There was another amphibious landing. I forget the name off the top of my head right now, but that was to the south. And that one, they came on the beach and had to go up into hedgerows and these rice farm areas. People were sniping at snipers, and booby traps were set up, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's like really, I think it was August 1965. By then, that's when it was like all out. The war was on. It was an all-out conflict, America versus North Vietnam. America with its allies, the South Vietnamese, and a few other countries sent a few soldiers, but that's when it was like on. But the base here, right here, there hasn't been a plane in a while, but it's like right there, had a thick perimeter. You know, obviously they had the eyes out toward the sea. Nothing was coming in that way, but what the problem was the hills and the villages and the inland to the west over there. It just looks so tranquil right here right now, man. Thinking about all this. Kind of crazy. Looks like really nice water swimming actually, but not going to. Air base right over there was the launching pad for countless sorties and missions, bombing raids into North Vietnam and several other places. The Ho Chi Minh Trail, probably into Laos, Cambodia a little bit too, Laos, the Hidden War. This was like the air base. All kinds of American jets and fucking helicopters flying around here probably all the time, like every day, every night, all the time, bringing in medevac people that, you know, giving support, dropping off troops, picking up injured people. It must have been crazy, you know, just like you're like at this beautiful beach. It's like not an ideal situation. People just singing karaoke now, living it up. People swimming out here. Like anti-aircraft missiles set up around the base for any MiGs coming in that might like try to attack. And there's a constant Viet Cong presence, like just right outside the base, like all the time, creeping in at night. Missile attacks would happen on the regular, mortars, but still it was like the beachhead. The beach was like secure. The Americans loved the beach, but they didn't know that you go into the interior up there and it was just gonna be a slugfest, an elusive enemy with no real distinction, no battle lines, a guerrilla war. You know, they were like not used to that kind of stuff, not trained in that. They had tanks. The tanks, there's no use for a tank. You're not fighting tank to tank. You can't roll a tank through the rice paddies over there. None of these buildings were here. So it was like, get up onto the beach and secure the area. I don't even know. Crazy. Looking nice right now. You know, this was the main landing site. Marines, 1965, and up through all those years, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, especially all those years, especially those ones, 71. But in the 60s, especially those early 60s, this was like the place. So much craziness, crazy thoughts, you know, just thoughts in people's heads. That's what I can't. There we go. There goes another flight. The main air base. There they go on to whatever country that's going to. Commercial flights now, enjoying life, going on a trip to Vietnam, back home to wherever they're going back. I came here from Bangkok, that same airport, I didn't even realize. Hello, white dog. The white dog, white ghost dog. Hello. Oh. Not messing with me. Alright, well, the rain cleared up and I got to get this beautiful view of the sky like this. That's kind of cool. I'll finish the story sometime. It's just gonna be like that. Interesting video. Respect. Some good seafood here, man. We got a good lot of people working. These kids are having fun. Seafood. It's all good. See you on the next time. Here on Red Beach on another day. Near the airport, the air base. Real feel 109 degrees Fahrenheit right now. This blazing sun, man. The Americans with all their gear and long, pants, jacket and everything had to come up onto this beach. You had to get acclimated to that weather, man. This weather. It wasn't like water was easily available either. There wasn't like convenience stores or anything, They had to build everything. They had to build the whole base. It was a big operation. So, all right, 1965. We're here at Red Beach again. That's the good thing about long-term travel. If one day is a little bit rainy or something, go out another day where it's a little clear. It's still a little cloudy in those hills over there. My dad's friend was stationed at a base over there. That place is called Monkey Mountain. There was some bases over there. All right. Where was I in my little story here? So yeah. Red Beach, the main landing site. Da Nang Air Base, now the airport, right there. And the Red Beach area included several bases, including Camp JK Books, Camp Hastings. Gotta take the glasses off. Camp Hastings. Wait a second. The Red Beach area included several bases, including Camp JK Books, Camp Haskins, Camp Viking, and the Paddock Compound, which were used for various logistical and support functions. So those were all these little camps, little bases that they got set up around here. So Da Nang, Vietnam was the site of several key battles. Not quite in Da Nang itself, but events during the Vietnam War. The city and its surrounding areas experienced significant conflict, including the Tet Offensive, the defense of Da Nang Air Base, and ultimately its capture by North Vietnamese forces. So yes, that was the main thing, was to defend the air base. And they used to take commercial flights into here from Okinawa, all the way from the US, I think, too, with the loading the guys on the draftees and the soldiers. The Marines had to do a 13-month tour, and the Army 12 months. Navy, I'm not sure, probably something similar, but pilots, would be coming in, all flying in here, maybe coming in by boat into Da Nang Bay here. Crazy. Be staring at me the whole time. The arrival of U.S. Marines in 1965 also marked a major turning point in the war, with Da Nang becoming a crucial hub for American operations. There were often rocket or mortar attacks, some hitting barracks and killing or wounding Americans inside. Pretty much weekly. Like one early retaliation for air raids launched from Da Nang on bombing missions up into the north, hitting around Hanoi. I was watching some documentary about this. the guys over there sleeping in the barracks. They rocketed in the barracks at Da Nang Air Base, killing 8 Americans and wounding like 173, leveling the place. You know, the barracks basically burned down the mess hall. This was a retaliation for some airstrikes that were launched here. So imagine jets going up all the time, landing, helicopters. You know, they weren't entirely safe exactly here, but along this beachhead, like nothing was coming from that way. It was always from the hills in the interior, in the north. Viet Cong and their guerrilla tactics. There goes another plane. There's a beach here, but into where the base was, up that way a little bit. Now, nice Vietnamese neighborhood with restaurants and all kinds of stuff. But right over there was frequent incursions at night, especially into darkness, to the perimeter of the base, using the dark as cover. So I read like testimonials of young guys that were here from like 1965 to 1972, something like that, saying every night going to sleep they were in fear pretty much, but eventually you have to get used to it. But at first, every little sound, you would jump out of your bed and hit the deck because you thought a mortar attack or missile was coming in, even if it was just like a plane taking off, like we've seen many right here. But after a while, you just get used to it because usually they were hitting the deck needlessly. One guy said how happy he was to leave and never coming back, hearing the landing gear. Hold on, we gotta wait for the next plane for that one. What they thought was kind of gonna be an easy, like, you know, policing situation. The North were gonna back down. Ended up being slogged out for years and years and years. Untold of crazy situations, guerrilla war. You couldn't tell who the enemy was. Viet Cong, who was aligned with them, who was not. You had to go inside villages, hut to hut, go in the jungle at night. You know, it was dark. Sniper fire, booby traps, stepping on spikes and everything. You had the tunnels that they were all hiding out in, so you didn't know where they were going. You would call in more, firepower to hit spots where you think guys are. They ended up not being there. Napalm and everything blowing up everywhere. Jets flying around trying to find the elusive enemy. Civilians getting in the way. Also casualties. Right all around here, man. Da Nang Air Base. 50 to 60 years ago. Same exact spot where I am. There goes another plane. And yeah, one guy I was reading, actually, where I read these is YouTube comments. You know, YouTube, on the documentaries I've been watching. He said that was the best feeling and sound he ever had. When the tours were over. Some guys came on several tours, you know, about a year tours, like 3 or 4 times. When his tour was over and he heard the wheels go up and lock into place, the landing gear, knowing that it was a one-way ticket, never to return, that was the happiest he said he ever felt in his entire life. Make it out of here. As they called it, it was hairy. So many people, violent situations. You know, I was thinking about this earlier, and the other day as well. A person from Vietnam, did they ever once, like, intentionally want to go to America to, like, kill an American or something, like a soldier or a president? I don't know about that. I don't think so. So think about where they were coming from. People are pulling up on the beach here, with intent to kill, man, that's like kind of crazy. Where they didn't really do anything to ideology and politics, I guess, but personally do something. Like the person that's in the fight, the person fight gun to gun shooting each other. They didn't do anything personally to each other or to someone from their country, really. But then, you know, once it starts, then you could say, all right, well, they killed some of our guys. We got to get them back for it. And so on and so on and so on and so on and over and over. And then it just starts dehumanizing the situation. And you got all millions of people died. Man, millions of people died in Vietnam. A lot of Americans, but way, way more Vietnamese, of course. And that was the whole like thing of success was, all right, it was like a 10-to-1 kill ratio. For every 10 of them, we lost one guy. Like, that's not success, man. All right, I said I wasn't gonna get opinionated, but while I'm on this beach, just wanted to get that out. Peaceful, quiet place now, other than the occasional jumbo jet full of tourists going somewhere, or a honking bus or motorbike or truck on the road over there. Very peaceful, nice place. Some people windsurfing. Alright, we're gonna go to like a little museum place for Ho Chi Minh and about the war. And also talk about some French history and China Beach. The main tourist beach now, which was the R&R beach for the soldiers. We're going to talk about that too. But here, wrapping up the first landing sites. Took 2 days to film everything. Da Nang Air Base was attacked, and the Marines were sent in to protect it. Something like that. Who knows what really was going on with that? I wasn't. That's what my research said. USO soldiers coming in here, entertainers, nurses, medics, all kinds of people coming in here to Da Nang. Every now and then a politician would come, see what was going on, news, you know, CBS News or whatever. No, I was about to say it's nice and quiet over here, and beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I met a guy doing the north to south motorbike route from Germany. Told him about the history. He said it was interesting, and he said happy 4th of July yesterday. Huh. And goodbye, Red Beach. Good to come out again. Neighborhood spring up, barber shops, noodles, motorbike repair shop. Just your everyday little Vietnamese local area, tons of coffee shops. Right around here, school, and probably the open grass fields leading up to the air base. And the perimeter was around here, probably right on these grounds. Pharmacy. Life moves on, man. People saying hello to me. Xin chao. Crazy. South side of Red Beach. We got a little local spot outside the Da Nang Air Base. Ooh, something else is coming. It's all the, as you always see, accoutrements. Nice lady. I just pointed at what the boy had back there. It's gone. Told me what it is. Try it. This isn't a food video. All kinds of stuff. Noodles. Shrimp. Gam Wang. That's how you say I like spicy, I think. Gam Wang. Yeah, those ladies were so cool. God, I always forget to hit record when something funny is happening. How do vloggers do that? That's interesting down there. How do vloggers do that? You just have to always be recording, I guess. Yeah, you just have it on. Ah. Oh well, we're in the perimeter right now of the air base, something like that. Real close to the airport. Every now and then you can hear it flying over. What?
Do any of those people remember the time in that country?
No, you gotta be. That old man sitting over there maybe was a kid during it.
He was out like this.
They said try to say spasiba to me. They thought I was Russian. I kind of look Russian. People say.
Right now, I see it real rough on top.
All right, let's see what happens next. We're in a place now. There's a Soviet MiG jet that they provided the Vietnamese with. It's kind of interesting to see. Usually it's the American stuff at places like this, but here was what they had going. Fighting dog fights in the north. All right, so we're at this place, the Ho Chi Minh Museum, where they have a bunch of old military equipment left over, most from US. Like just got left here. Rocket launcher. Crazy. Torpedo produced by the Soviet Union. Yeah, these are those are the missiles that would land in the barracks and then blow up planes in Da Nang Air Base and everything. That's crazy. Look, produced by the Soviet Union. Thing called the Cold War. Soviet Union directly giving these to the Vietnamese to fight against Americans. You know, this kind of stuff happens a lot in history. America giving Ukraine equipment right now to fight against Russia. America gave the Afghans, which ended up becoming the Taliban, which is crazy, to fight against Russia, Soviet versus Afghanistan war. Oh, it's just crazy how that works, man. But that's interesting to see. Usually these places just have American stuff like that heavy lifter thing over there. Soviet equipment from the North Vietnamese hanging out here. Crazy. All right, let's tell a little more of the story, but just really look at the museum here and stuff they got, like these jets, air-to-air combat. Imagine taking on one of these, or one of these was going over your position. Whew. Crazy. I've just left here. There was a truck with a gun on top, tanks, which ended up being pretty much useless here. They brought a bunch. There was never a tank battle, and the tanks would just get bogged down in the mud and sludge and rice paddies. Some other trucks with a boat attached. Nice. Oh, that one has suffered some damage. Mobile relay of a radio telegraphy vehicle. Transferred to Sapper Regiment 270 in 1972 to serve the Region 5 battlefield in resistance war against the U.S. imperialists at the southwest border and against the Khmer Rouge. Oh, okay. These are Vietnamese equipment, actually. And I was wrong. This is Vietnamese stuff. I thought it was American equipment that was left here. This is kind of interesting. Soviet-made tank, this says. Used by Vietnamese armored soldiers for the first time. Defensive campaign in Laos, 1971, and the Plain of Jars. Oh, I've heard about that. Yeah, that's interesting. I like the way they put this. War against the U.S. imperialists. How was that always the excuse? It's not like the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was an empire. They were imperialists. Like, it's so strange. That was like the motto against the imperialists. Oh man, it's hot right now out here. Whew. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. You get artillery going where you think enemy positions are, and yeah, those those are messed up because you don't know when it can hit you. Howitzer, here we go. Here's some American stuff. Whew, the sun is blazing on me out here. Seized by Regiment 96 into Region 5 in the Battle of Dak Po to pursue the French groupement. Oh, whoa. This was in the French War, 1954. Seized by soldiers, 1954, half track. Yeah, whoa. All right, so they got all kinds of stuff here. From the French War, look at that gun on that, to the Soviet-made equipment the Vietnamese were using, the stuff used against the Khmer Rouge and in Laos. Yeah, this one's from 1953, just a little mountain gun, I guess it's called, little 94 millimeter. Huh. Here's something that saw action in the American situation. Seized from the U.S. and the Saigon regime troops by Army Corps 3, Vietnam Liberation Army units stationed in the Central Highlands near here. It was used by Group 572 to destroy enemy bases at the battlefield of Region 5, 1972 to 1975. So yeah, that was like at the end of the war. U.S. gun. Seized from the U.S. Resistance war against U.S. imperialists. Just light one of these off, get it aimed right, the distance and a lot of geography involved in that, you know. But had to understand the terrain, the weather, the angle of where you want to shoot it at to get to where you gotta go. This place is kind of crazy. Different than I thought. Cool looking plane, crazy looking. All these different rockets and bombs. Scorpion logo on there. Crazy looking design. Whoa, what is this one? I've never seen anything like this. Imagine this thing shrieking through the sky. College students are here. What's the name of this one? Cessna 837 Dragonfly, produced by the U.S. Seized from the U.S. and Saigon regime. Hello! This is a 2,500-year-old Nok Lu copper drum. I've heard about this. And the Chinese would like melt them down when they would try to take over Vietnam. This is the famous Trung sisters that battled, I believe, the Han Dynasty. Control. But this video's not about that, but it's still pretty interesting of all the different resistance Vietnam had to do. This one was in the 1400s against China invading. I believe it was the Ming Dynasty at that time, the Qing Dynasty over there. And this is when the French came here. So prisoners. Yes, the French colonist battleships attacked Da Nang, opening the war of invading Vietnam, 1858. More, resistance imagery. This was in 1945, trying to get independence after the end of World War II. Back Son guerrilla unit fighting the Japanese and French. About some French stuff in a bit, but here's some imagery. The last French expeditionary troops withdrew from Vietnam, and French captured a Dien Bien Phu battlefield, which was really crazy. Like thousands of French got killed in that ambush, man. So Ho Chi Minh, man, he was battle hardened from dealing with the French, Japanese, French again. The American turn was next. American soldier going through it, man. These are pretty crazy. So this was American F-111 plane shot down, and there's this woman, looks like a child, with the American pilot. Oh, that was in 1965. Wow, that was right in the beginning. Here's a piece of the plane.
This is the U.S. 4000 which was destroyed in North Vietnam.
Crazy. Picture of the Soviets over Berlin in here. Why does that have to do with Vietnam? Well, when France fell to Nazi Germany, the colony of Vietnam went under control of the puppet French government that was controlled by the Nazis, the Vichy or something it was called. And then they made a deal with Japan where it was like, all right, we'll leave some of our people in control here, we'll run things, but Japanese soldiers could come in here. So they like started taking all the rice from Vietnam, and people were like starving to feed the Japanese army, growing rice for them. But there wasn't too much battles with the Japanese. They had some guerrilla battles and stuff like that, but so it's all related, man. Here's some of the weapons from those times. See, these are like village people making booby traps. Jeez, imagine just stepping on that, not knowing, or falling into that spiky things. Now they were creative. Weapons. It says here 1960 to 65. So these are the ones they were when America was an advisory group. Here's some weapons that the resistance against the American Empire was using. Times. Here it says President Eisenhower, U.S. President, and Ngo Dinh Diem shamelessly collaborated with each other to rule South Vietnam. So that was it, late 50s. Military Assistance Advisory Group came to Saigon to carry out the war. And that was before the major event started happening in 1965. Interesting place. It's crazy. Bomb that landed around here, and these, it says, this is rough. Guns picked off the belt of killed American troops in the 5th military zone. Must be around here. Fucking crazy. The beach, there's an actual photo. 1965 March landing of the Americans. Some weapons here. Some graphic imagery. American soldiers eating and drinking calmly before Vietnamese bodies killed by them. Weapons from American troops used to kill Vietnamese peoples in this zone, 5th zone. That's crazy, man. It's rough to see. But U.S. soldiers retreating. 1965, that was an early battle. Crazy. A lot of information here. Some Americans ducking for cover. This is a little bit intense. Lots of imagery. Ceremony to send bodies back. K-47 here, and has a story of the guy who used it. Comrade Nguyen Nhu Lam, between 1966 and 1968, used this in 50 battles. It says decimating, which is killed, I guess, killed 150 U.S. soldiers in that time. Wow. Another image of something I was talking about. There was a bombing at Da Nang Airport, 1968. There's another event in Da Nang. The bomb dumps of American troops in Da Nang City attacked and fired on. Now before a captured American flag. book on the Liberation Army. 1975, liberate the city. More stuff, weapons seized. Puppet, I always use that word. Liberation Army crossing the rivers to liberate Da Nang. Crazy. Occupy the enemy base, liberating Da Nang City. Yeah, that is what we've been talking about. Oh, this crazy stuff. It's crazy to see this. American radio. Actually, no, it's Chinese. Oh, this is what they were using. Cooled down out here a little bit, man. Imagine hearing or seeing one of those hit in your direction. There's a chopper. Seized from the U.S. military and used. Wow, so they used the equipment after they took it from the Americans. Why not? Good stuff. Just left here. And imagine being behind this thing. Crazy. This one. Again. I don't like doing museum walkthroughs, you know, and everything. I usually don't do that, but, you know, that was relevant to the story of that I was saying on the beaches, and you got all the equipment and guns and everything. Very interesting, some very graphic stuff. Not just about the American War though, man. It was about all kinds of things. Even after the Cambodian Khmer Rouge problems they had, you know, then some agreements like with Moscow and the USSR in like the 80s, the 70s, and different stuff like that. And then a lot of stuff about the French resistance and during the 1940s, and Vietnamese history and everything. Americans, we only think about America's part, you know. But it was way more complex than that. Liberation Army, they kept calling it. They wanted to be free from any outside power. French, Japanese, American, doesn't matter. And now they have been. What's this? Robbed by the U.S. Army. Bombs. Pinks did a whole lot of nothing here, but they brought them. Didn't work. All right, we're in the sickle, and the Vietnam flag waves strong there. You got multi-million-dollar pieces of American equipment just sitting here. Real quick, as we leave these equipment, they still have the American star on these ones. So they weren't used again. Tanks. And mural over there. I don't think we should go over here. Just wanted a photo of this. Soviet style mural. I think there's some military base over here. Maybe we shouldn't go over here. Get the graph. 1923 built French cathedral here. Gamsamida, Annyeonghaseyo. The Korean tourists love it. But yes, that's a big part of the history of Da Nang as well. Not just American things. So Da Nang actually was where the French first landed ever in Vietnam. A French and Spanish joint mission. I guess they landed and were originally beat back, but yes, France took over all Vietnam as a colony officially 1858. And yeah. French Indochina. There was a French Legion town, Da Nang, which is when the city really got built up in the form it is now. Including this. About 100 years, little under, approximately, Vietnam, Da Nang was a French colony. But in World War II, when France lost its grip on its colonies, in 1940, when it fell to Nazi Germany, a pact was made with the puppet French government for Japanese to station troops here, but it was still managed by colonial French, I guess, as long as they didn't start any trouble. So not a lot of World War II history, you hear about in Vietnam, even though it was part of the Japanese Empire. The Japanese stole, a lot of rice, and people were starving, and there was a few skirmishes here and there. That's when Ho Chi Minh and his people first started getting their experience as a resistance fighters. But yes, what happened next? All right, so 1945, when World War II ended, the power vacuum that occurred was when Vietnam thought they were going to get their independence finally from France, but France had other ideas. Japanese withdrew, and France came back in 1946 to regain their colonies. Legionnaires were sent in, and this started 30 years of continuous war in Vietnam. 30,000 French came total to try to regain control over French Indochina. It was a crazy time, and it ended disastrously in 1959 at Dien Bien Phu, when the French were surrounded by firepower from the Vietnamese freedom fighters in the hills, isolated in the area in the northwest of Vietnam near the Laos border. Nearly 8,000 French legionnaires, French troops died, and the fort fell, and that's when America began to get more involved here. That's a whole nother story. But yes, a lot of French history, French Legion town. Just saw some women back there doing the Hail Mary in Vietnamese. Too bad it's not open, but cool history. Pink, 102 years old building. Views from above up here. Up here in these hills is where they would send rocket attacks down to Da Nang Air Base. Stuff like that. The Viet Cong would be hiding out. And signs of progress. It probably was very pristine and beautiful view down here. Real green, like all that. But looks like they're clearing out that place for a little beach resort right there with fires burning down the forest and smoke's coming up here. A little hazy out there. Smoke and everything, but it's still nice. Little coffee shop. Guys are listening to Vietnamese hip hop. Peaceful lands. Ooh, nice sun today too. Bright future. Big resort. People from all over the world gonna come to. Alright, need some coffee. Instead of the sounds of jets taking off and helicopters, rockets, those would actually come at night more. Every night, rocket attacks. Some gunfire in the distance. Looks like this today. Figure out where we are up here. This is Da Nang Bay. And that's that long strip of beach where the American forces and some allies landed in 1965, the Marines. And over there you can see that flat area a little bit. That's Da Nang Airport, Da Nang Air Base. There's the main beach where we stay, where those high rises are. And then the river just comes in from Da Nang Bay. I didn't realize that. It's almost like it's not even a river, it's like an inlet of the sea. Looks like a river though, when you're crossing those bridges. And you can even see the island way out there. Cham Island, named after the Champa people. That's a whole nother topic. Nice view here of the ground level area where I was. Talking about that landing on that beach way over there. A couple weeks ago now, but you know, this is one full video. Da Nang Bay, Da Nang. All down there. Da Nang, Da Nang, 60 years on. There's our apartment over there in the distance where we've been hanging out about 2 months staying here. Da Nang Bay, Da Nang Air Base, Da Nang. Expected historical site. Obviously we restored a bit, but these walls actually are original, built as the Vietnamese were expanding south, the Le Dynasty. A little fortress, the Le Dynasty, Vietnam's longest, who fought off the Ming Chinese domination forever. Built this originally. Cool. 1928 to 1789. Longest dynasty Vietnamese history. Spread down here into the Champa lands as they were definitely weakened, turning from Hindu to Muslim, whole different area. There's a picture from 1960s Americans there. Alright, so this place actually has something to do with our story here, unexpectedly. Originally 1435 built. Little fortress up here, overlooking the pass from south going north. And 1826, the Nguyen Dynasty, the capital of Hue, not far to the north here, upgraded the gate to protect the capital. And of course the French were stationed up here. In the 1950s there was a pretty crazy battle. They were talking about there was colonial African soldiers here. And French that got ambushed by the guerrilla fighters. Had a big story inside. Pretty intense. And some dates down, there was battles here in the War of French Resistance. 1947, 49, 1952 is when the guerrilla fighters took it over from the French and colonial African soldiers. And then the Americans set up shop up here later on. Strategic position for many reasons for them, especially with the air base over there. And 1968 Tet Offensive. Ooh. Well, the sea's on that side too. Oh man, this is a crazy spot. So I guess the Americans had a anti-aircraft or anti-missile defense system up here. And in 1968 they attacked up here. Tet Offensive. Drove out the Americans, destroyed the missile station. Crazy right here. There's Da Nang overlooking. There's the path north to the DMZ. We're in the 60s. Whoa. Here you can definitely see this is the only pass from that side to that side of the sea. And that's why this is here. It's a UNESCO sign for some reason. Hey, you're just like Katarina smiling in the back there from Backpacker Ben. Alright, cool place. Wasn't expecting it. Obviously restored. It was heavily damaged in the 60s, this place. And really falling apart. Even in the 30s, some pictures inside, but built back up at some point. Hold on, I want to show you something over here. There's some war damage. There behind me, right there, for sure some rocket damage or something. This gate. Don't see that too much here. I remember going to Hue though in 2018 and the Battle of Hue. Months long battle. Where the North Vietnamese during the Tet Offensive, that happened here too, but more intense there. It took over the city except for like a few little spots. The Americans had to fight to get it back house by house. Just watched a documentary on that. Room by room. Lost a lot of people. And you can still see all the bullet marks and damage from that. That was happening just north of here. But this was also hit on the simultaneous Tet Offensive. This was American base, little watch point. Originally 1400s place. A lot of history here. The lead, the Nguyen, the French, American. Now 2025, a little tourist place up in the hills. Alright, it's a nice family in their black and white outfits. Hang out here. This bunker cement. You know, I'm not guaranteeing I exactly know what era, but what's in here? Oh man, that's a tight fit. I'm thinking this is American built. Little portholes to shoot out anybody coming down. Man, that must have been terrifying to be inside here. Explosions going on all around you, and you have to get in. You have to really squat down. Shoot out in every direction if you need to. Oh, crazy to think about it. Yeah, I'm thinking this is American built little hut here. It's freaking hot in here. So yeah, I could just imagine being some young 19-year-old, 21-year-old with a rifle sweating in here, explosions going on all around you. You can't really tell what's going on outside, which is kind of crazy. That would be pretty terrifying, actually. And the only way out or in is to duck down like this. Oh my God. That's pretty crazy. Whoa. That's line of defense. Probably was quiet for days and weeks on end for the most part up here. But then one day, 1968 Tet Offensive, boom. Crazy. A couple other bunkers. This one's got a, what do they call that? Eagle's nest, where you could go up top. There's one over there too. What's going on inside this one? Ooh. Some more portholes this way to look out from that direction. See what's going on. store some equipment down there. Yeah, I don't know, this one looks a little newer maybe, I don't know. But then you got this side. I don't know, I'm obsessing over this place so much, but it's kind of cool actually. Didn't expect it. Good views. But yes, part of the story, especially the Tet Offensive. Here's another American defensive position, number 3 over here. This one's set up a little different. Got a little step down to get in, and main objective is to look out that way also. Yeah, that, you know, looking out that way was important, man. That's north. That's where they were coming from, mostly. NVA soldiers and Viet Cong. And they probably had a ladder to climb up there. A little down there for sure, so you could stand right here. Crazy. Bird's nest. Pop, 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 pop. Oh man. Get into position. Go, go, go. Get in there. Get in there. You, Jacob, get up top. I don't know where I just came up with that name. Davis, you get this ball. Frank, go get on that side. And, oh, we're getting hit. We're getting hit. Ah, it's not funny. It's funny to joke around. You know, when you're a kid, American kid, when I grew up, man, during the Vietnam War too, the 50s and the 40s, 80s, we all played war. It was like fun. We had little army men and go, 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 go. You know, we all played war. That was like a thing to do. I think all countries kind of have something like that when we were kids. That's what it just felt like, but the reality is so crazy. I don't know. Okay, obsessing over this part, this gate here, but it's kind of interesting. All right.
California.
Yes, we're from America, California. All right, UNESCO World Heritage. Yes, 3 around here: My Son, Hoi An City, and Hue City. Hue, Da Nang City. Yes, you're so nice. Take picture. Okay.
Okay. One picture.
Really wants me to get a drink, so I got one. That's all right. All right. Hoi An needs a UNESCO World Heritage sign like that. There's not one in the whole city of Hoi An. It's freaking crazy. But I guess all of Hue, which is really a whole province, but this is the border between Hue City and Da Nang province. All of Hue is a UNESCO World Heritage site. And that's why that's there, I guess. Vietnam. The lady over here said American bunkers. Just like I thought. Said there's 5 total up there, something like that. Went to her little shop. Nice. Okay. Oh, how many American bunker? 5. 5 up there, yes. Confirmed.
5 bunker.
5 bunker. Okay. Yes, see, confirmed by the nice lady. Gaman ban, gaman.
Cảm ơn bạn.
Probably built 1959 or earlier, 60s. Da Nang Air Base close by. Definitely built up 65 and after. All right. No more filming. Oh, this is a cool area. Look at that little village on the sand spit there. Green hills. Interesting. Alright, we're in the Hue City region, and we're at a long beach here. Very empty except for a few little restaurants, all locals hanging out. It's got some crazy mountains back there too. Yeah. Sunny day out here. This is our section, closest to our apartment, to Mai Kai Beach. For whatever reason, a favorite area of Kazakhstan tourists. Don't know why that is. They're always around here, this section. But yeah, hang out under the palm trees, go for a swim, do some tanning. And they've been doing that here for a long time. We're gonna talk about when too. All right, sun is out. And the guy's sleeping here. There's, sometimes volleyball games going over here. A bunch of foreigners. We got a little workout zone. One day I saw people doing ice baths right here. Anyways, late 1960s. Oh man, that sand is hot. This was nicknamed, I believe, after the name of the sea on the map there, the South China Sea. This was nicknamed China Beach. This whole stretch of sand here in Da Nang. And it was a place where American soldiers got their R&R time from the battle zone. They would come here and surf and do other water activities. I don't know, jet ski, who knows, man. But the main area, I'm not sure where it was. I think maybe it was down there more. Let's finish out this video. Finally, here we go. Ooh, that sand is hot today. Ah, it's looking beautiful today. Perfect. It's a little cloudy in Southeast Asia. Anyways, as you can see, modern Da Nang, 2025. New high rises, being built, a bunch built already. Tons of people here from a bunch of different countries. South Korea and Kazakhstan, for some reason. Top two places I've seen. Very interesting. I don't know why or how that is. But yeah, man, there's a East-West Brewing Company right there. 1965, 66, 67, 1968, 1969, 70, 71, till the withdrawal troops with Nixon in 72. This was the place of rest and relaxation for the American military that were fighting in the hills and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. They would get some time off to hang out at this beach, and before having to go back into the field. Not just Americans, Australians also a little bit. Different allies they had. South Korea had some soldiers here. A bunch of different countries. But yeah, mostly Americans. This is where they would go and hang out. They even have a TV show about it, made in the 1980s, of how it used to be. Let me get some more info from my notes. I saw old pictures online too, where you can see those hills in the background. You can see the island back there with the guys hanging out on the beach in their little 1960s little bathing suits. Oh yeah, China Beach, the nickname for the beach here. Main tourist beach now. Oh yeah, I said there's lots of South Koreans, lots of Kazakh people from Kazakhstan. Number one though, Vietnamese locals from all over the country, it seems, come here, but they come at either around 4 p.m. at night or the early morning. I've heard. Haven't got up yet early morning. They love this beach. Go down here, Mark. Rest and recuperation, or rest and relaxation from all the theaters of the war. This was one of the main spots. And yeah, even in 1967, they started Alright, so even in 1967 they started a surf club here with their own little logo and t-shirts, I think, with guys using, surfing the waves to clear their mind from all the stresses that they were going through. Young guys, man, 19, 18, 20, 21. And they did other water sports, had some beers, cigarettes, food, little beach bar shacks were set up. Must have been quite the scene. And the main thing was camaraderie. These guys lived and died together. They you get close relationships, close bonds, like none else I've heard, not from experience, as being in war with someone else. So, from the 3,500 original American troops in 1965, where we went to the beach in the beginning. By the end of that year, 1965, there was about 185,000 American troops in Vietnam. Huge increase. And the war escalated. And a decade later, actually 1972, with Richard Nixon, they began pulling the troops out. They had a couple Marines still stationed around Saigon. But by 1975, a decade later, after that first landing, we're having peace talks with Henry Kissinger in Paris and everything. Was the end of the war. And Saigon, Da Nang fell actually with not even a shot fired. It just, the South Vietnamese that were around just gave up the city. Came in here. Da Nang Air Base fell, that mighty air base, now Da Nang Airport. All the people that lived and died and protected that air base, and you know, just went through there. It's crazy. Just fell. And 2.7 million Americans had served in Vietnam by 1975. 2.7 million. And around 60,000 were killed. Exactly 58,220 U.S. service members died. Rest in peace. Some of them may have got to enjoy this beach before wherever they were. And it makes me mad thinking about that. Wow. So crazy. So many people, so many families affected. And even much worse, millions of Vietnamese died on both sides. Alright. Some numbers here. There was a study done in the 90s where it calculated 1,141,000 war-related deaths in Vietnam, the Vietnam War. U.S. and allies, so those were South Vietnamese and other allies. Total deaths was 282,000 estimated. And civilian deaths, North and South Vietnam, over 600,000. And North Vietnamese and Viet Cong deaths also almost 700,000. Those are some rough estimates. I looked up another source. 2 million civilians died on both sides around. 1,100,000 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong fighters. About 250,000 South Vietnamese soldiers died. 58,300 names are on the Vietnam Memorial of Americans that died on the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. A lot of deaths, man. Look at it now. Peaceful. So the guys that would come here were mostly safe, but they weren't totally out of, you know. Every now and then a rocket attack would come by, something, a helicopter would come, you know, zooming by, something was happening in the hills over there. But they weren't completely safe. I just saw a cool starfish over here. Look at this. Weird. Crazy. All right. Among other countries that fought for South Vietnam, South Korea had about 4,000 dead. Thailand 350, Australia about 500, New Zealand about 40. Ho Chi Minh had warned the US, "You will kill 10 of our men and we will kill 1 of yours, and in the end it will be you who tire of it." And in the end he was proved right. Vietnam was reunified 50 years ago exactly. They're going to celebrate that this year, or they're celebrating that this year, 1975, 2025. But at an enormous cost. 3 million total around Vietnamese killed, including 2 million civilians. Hundreds of thousands were seriously injured and disabled. Farmland was contaminated by exposure to 43 million liters of horrible chemical Agent Orange. Actually, I have a friend, dad, who served in Vietnam that died from cancer from Agent Orange. That is a nasty thing, man. Agent Orange. That was just crazy to clear the vegetation. Oh man, horrible. The countryside had been littered with 14 million tons of ordnance, a significant proportion of it unexploded. So that stuff is still out there. Not to mention the secret war in Laos and a little bit in Cambodia too, where they're going after the Ho Chi Minh Trail and allies and Viet Cong and North Vietnamese that were going through there. That's a whole nother story. Millions of people had been displaced. Famine and disease were rife for a good portion of many years after 1975. The early 70s, rest of the 70s, 80s. But 2025, look at this. What a comeback story. People from South Korea, Kazakhstan, India, Russia, China, a host of other European nations, plus Americans as tourists. Expats or digital nomads are here. People are friendly. Food is good. Services are great. What a comeback story. That name. China Beach. I spent 2 months here. This is my last week here. Thanks for watching. There's the name Mi Kai, Mai Kai, Mi Ke. But someone told me that it means American Beach. They're not gonna call it China Beach anymore, of course. Probably had an old name. Hello, xin chào. Little kids. No, hey buddy. There he is. Xin chào. Anyways, this is the area I think. This is the area where I think, like in the heat of the summer of '69, not summer of 1967, 68, year round really, except for the rainy season. And something. Anyways, this is the area I think where all that was. 1960s. Probably where that sign is. U.S. involvement, 1972, then the real end of the war, 1975. The U.S. took in about 140,000 Vietnamese refugees, mostly with ties to the South Vietnamese government or something like that. And it was just a crazy scene in Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City, where people were trying to squeeze on the airplanes and helicopters to get out of there from the U.S. Embassy and stuff. And then, yeah, there was also influx in neighboring countries around here, even Hong Kong, Thailand, Philippines. The boat people, they're called. Some were ethnic minorities like the Hmong or Chinese, Vietnamese, different peoples. And yeah, China Beach, probably 1976, 77, 78 here. My Key Beach was probably very quiet, abandoned. Not much going on anymore. And now there's 2.4 million Vietnamese living in the United States. Something like that. Many in California where I grew up. I was all around Vietnamese culture and tried the food and heard the language, and you know, some areas of my city near San Francisco area, all Vietnamese, everything around. No one's speaking English at all. It's 100% Vietnamese on the signs, Vietnamese spoken. It's really cool actually. Try all the food, they have markets. Up in the Pacific Northwest too, I experienced that a lot. I heard Texas. So yeah, times change, that's the main point. Me being here right now, being able to tell the story. Veterans come here all the time and have memories of hanging out here in China Beach and living at the air base or whatever they had to do here and there. Anyways, pretty interesting place. Up and coming. There's that little buddy that I was talking about. Nice sign there, I like that. Nice beach day. Times change. Pain can heal the wounds. Time, over time and decades, things are forgotten. Nobody even talks about that here anymore. Nobody even thinks about it. The average age, see a bunch of Vietnamese out there, is 33 years old or something I heard in Vietnam. There are young people. There's not that many people around over the age of, I don't know, 55, 60 they would have to be to remember that. 60 or 70 years old, 80 and above. No, 50 something and above, 55 and above. They were kids during it. Every now and then you see a person about that age, like this guy on the bike over here. Maybe he was a kid during that times, but who knows? And then there's people, you know, they have family from here. And earlier today, we saw a family, two boys, 9 years old, 8 years old, little 3-year-old girl. One lived in Ohio, the other family lived in Texas. They were cousins, and they were visiting their ancestral homeland, Vietnamese Americans. We have that too. And then, yeah, we met a guy with a family member living in San Jose, California. Here. See the American flag around, American sports things. You have American themed places. Look at all this action. It's Saturday here going on all around me. And they even renamed this. It's some different iteration. Like when you exactly translate it, doesn't make sense. But they even renamed this beach American Beach is what that means, basically. Something like that. Because of that history. Thanks for watching. Down here, the evening time is Vietnamese time. Hey, look at that shirt. California, nice shirt. 1980. About 5 o'clock every day is on schedule, day after day. They're out here, man. They pack in the areas. So cool.
They're out earlier, but the kids get very angry when they eat.
Ooh, it's a sunny one today. Whoop. Let's talk about this real quick too. 50 years since 1975, the reunification. They got a big thing for it. 50 years ago. 60 years ago. I think about this stuff so much. I love history. It's not that I love history, especially war history. It's just, you know, I don't know. Us kids that were growing up in the 80s, this was only like, you know, 10, 20 years after us. We were like I'm like the generation after all that. Pretty much. So I had watched all the movies, Apocalypse Now, and Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, Good Morning Vietnam. I just watched that the other day. Watched them with my dad. Man, my dad loves war movies. He showed those all to me at a super young age, a lot of those. There's some other good ones too. Those are probably the best. Apocalypse Now is the best. Probably the best ever Vietnam War movie. And they have that part where he gets the guy surfing. I think that scene takes place here, where what's his name, Robert Duvall, and he has the professional surfer in his platoon. And he gets him on the surfboard on the beach, and there's bombs dropping around him. And he was a wild man in that movie. That guy, dun 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 dun. The Valkyrie song coming in with the gunships and the helicopters. Freaking crazy, man. It's a different place now. And every now and then you see that, the hammer and the sickle, and with the Vietnamese flag and the communist red, yellow. One of my favorite parts, the ladies in the dresses, all the Vietnamese kids and families coming out here, enjoying the water every evening from all over the country. Sometimes they say hello, they talk to us, all different ages, kids, babies, and it's cool to see. You know, an event like that happened in 1960s, the guy. That is awesome, that tattoo. An event like that, you know, could cripple a place for generations, centuries after an event like that happening. You know, it's not guaranteed anyone will be laughing and smiling and having fun for a long time. You know, you look at North Korea, obviously that's a very different situation after their war, the 50s. Yeah, it's just cool to see. Look at all the thousands of people out here, all the kids, and having fun, enjoying life. Up and coming place. Makes me happy, man. Look at that cool hotel behind me. The young, the youth, distant memory, those horrible times. Oops, sorry about that. Ah, man. Good song was the front was tattooed also. All right, let the people out here, guy, kid. Oh, that's a great thing to end it on. The kid with the American flag inner tube. Yeah. Oh, two of them. That's a great thing to end it on. Yes. Yes. Right there. Two of them. Yeah. I like that, man. That's a great one to end it on. It's all everyone's having fun out here. Da Nang, baby. Yeah, get emotional a little bit. Don't lose your toy. Come on, Bon. New York shirt. Yankees. Beach bar behind these hotels. It's our favorite spot, Paradise. Cheers to Vietnam. My favorite beer from Hue, Huda. They got 3 for $4.96, 130,000 dong. That's a pint at a beach bar for $1.65. Nice. All right, Uncle Ho, Ho Chi Minh on every Vietnamese dong currency to this day. BS Saigon. My second favorite beer. but named after the traditional name of Ho Chi Minh City, the capital of South Vietnam. Saigon was the supposed country that was going to be South Vietnam. I guess it was a country for like 1959 to 1975. Anyways, not anymore. But a cool thing I saw today to show that times are changing was it's a growing city down there, Ho Chi Minh City, the largest city of the South. And they actually, it used to be like illegal to even like say this name, Saigon. It actually, they're making a district now, starting this year, called like the Saigon district, using the traditional old name. And you know, Saigon versus Ho Chi Minh in the north. Just a little contrast there. Got the Hammer Sickle behind me. The old bar, just like the China Beach days of the 1960s. And I think this was a good video, and that's a good one to call it. We got a concert going on over there. We got the workout ladies. Alright, let's look over here. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. This is the kind of place guys would hang out, get some R&R. 1969 China Beach. Probably just like this. Had a nice day at the sea out there. Buddha beer didn't exist yet, 1990. But it's a great beer. We were talking the other day, they probably had Budweiser, all kinds of American stuff everywhere. A little bit close up, man. Old school bar. Just like, or at least very similar. The bar here, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, 60 years ago, something like that. Little beach bar. Stop by, get yourself a beer. I heard the stories, man. I heard the stories. Interesting feeling to sit in the same spot. Great beach. Everyone's enjoying themselves out there. Lots of family, Vietnamese families especially, come around this time, evening, 4 to 7. Cheers. Oh, they got some real surfers out there. Oh yeah, she's going. This guy's killing it. That's a long ride. You, yeah. Yeah, there's another guy. Just like the good old China Beach days. They had a surf club of Aussies and American soldiers here. Same beach. Crazy. Surfing. In Chao Da Nang, big rainy storm day. We found a rooftop bar. There's a dragon bridge. Looks kind of cool in the mist over there. Crazy lightning looks really crazy. All right, whoa! This happens in the tropics. Every time I start bringing up those war stories, there's a huge storm right after. It's kind of weird. Dragon Bridge. This place, yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you next time. Bye bye. See you next time. Yeah. Come on. All right. So that place was like a Vietnamese soldier themed barber shop. That was super cool. They did a great cut. The guy was super nice, knew English. They did like a face mask thing for me for some reason. I don't know why, but that was a really cool experience. Yeah, I recommend this. Cool. All right. It's kind of rare when you find the bottle of Buddha, 35 years, and what a view.